This is how you make delicious sugar cookies at home. Hi, my name is Jeevan and today I am going to be teaching you guys how to make a beginner-friendly recipe of sugar cookies. First thing, just like every time we bake or cook or do anything related to food in the kitchen, we want to make sure our hair is tied up if we have long hair like mine. We want to make sure we wash our hands, and we want to make sure we're either wearing an apron or we're wearing clothing that's not going to get into our food. It's not super baggy, it's not pilling or have anything that's going to get into the food. So before we get everything started, we want to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and we want to get our mixing bowl ready. So for this, I'm going to use my KitchenAid, and I'm going to use this attachment, but you could also do this by hand with a wooden spoon. To your mixing bowl, you're going to cream together butter and granulated sugar. So you're just going to add a cup of butter, and just make sure this butter is softened. It's okay if it's a little melted, but you want to just make sure it's going to be easy to cream together with the sugar. And then you're adding also a cup of sugar. Once your butter and sugar mixture is done, you want to make sure you scrape down the sides, and it should look light and fluffy just like this. To your mixing bowl that has the butter and sugar mixture, you are now going to add 1 egg, a teaspoon of vanilla, and half a teaspoon of salt, and then you're just going to combine that all into here too. Now that those are combined in and you have mixed it all up, your batter should be starting to look a bit stiffer, and it should be feeling stiffer too. So that's all for the wet ingredients. You can just set those aside while you get your dry ingredients ready in a separate bowl. Now you're just going to add your dry ingredients to a separate bowl. So all that you need for your dry ingredients are 3 cups of flour, which I already put in here, and then you are going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Now that you measured out all your dry ingredients, you're going to whisk this together. You can do this with a whisk just like I have here, or you can take a fork and whisk it like I'm doing. Once your dough has been mixing for a while, it should start to look like this, and this is when you can start putting it on your counter and kneading it. When you're doing this, make sure you have a clean counter space and flour the surface a bit. When it looks like this, it is ready to be rolled out. To roll out your dough, you want to have a rolling pin, some extra flour to put on the surface of your counter, and of course your dough. Then after, you're gonna use a cookie cutter, any shape, it doesn't matter, to cut out the dough into cookies. Once your dough is rolled out to about 1/4 inch thick, you want to start cutting your cookies out with a cookie cutter. You can use any cookie cutter shape. I'm using a heart one. And then you can just start doing a bunch and then taking the scrap dough off and redoing the step of rolling it out and cutting it out with that scrap dough. Now that your cookies are cut out, place them on your baking sheet that's lined with either parchment paper or a silicone mat like mine, and then you can place in the oven for 8 to 10 minutes. This is how they should look when they come out of the oven, and you want to transfer them to a cooling rack before icing them, and you want to make sure they're completely cooled before you start icing them. You can transfer them right after they come out of the oven. Just be careful because they can quickly fall apart. Now that our cookies are done, they're out of the oven and they're cooling, we can get started on our icing. To my bowl, I added a tablespoon of butter, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/4 a cup of water. For the water, you can add more if you want the icing to become thinner once you combined the powdered sugar into the icing. But for starting off your icing, just add 1/4 a cup of water. So now I added 4 cups of powdered sugar into my icing bowl with the wet ingredients, and I'm just folding it in. This is how your icing should be looking. It should be around a consistency that it can drip a little from your spatula, but it's not too thin where it's really runny like water. And at this point, you can add different types of flavors, like almond, or some people like to use maple, depending on your preference, but I'm just gonna leave it like this. And now you can just set this to the side until you are ready to ice your cookies. I have this piping bag here that I'm gonna put in this cup and then pour my icing into, but you can just use a spoon or a knife or anything and spread the icing on the cookies depending on what your preference is. So now I've got everything here. I've got my icing here in the piping bag, and I'm also gonna put sprinkles on top of the icing before it dries, just for fun, and you can ice it any way you want using anything and any toppings. For my cookies, on this side I iced the whole cookie and then put sprinkles on it. But on this side, I changed it up and I just drizzled the icing all over the cookie and then put sprinkles on it. So, like I already said, up to your imagination, up to what you want to do, your skill level, you can do whatever your heart desires. And now you can just enjoy them